Breakdown was just taken, Dragstrip added. I was leaving to tell Motormaster when you saw me. Taken? Thrust asked and stepped around his shrine mate as Dragstrip held up Breakdown's panel cover. The Seeker took it and looked it over. Why leave a panel cover? Chest armor, yeah, but a panel cover? Motormaster snatched the metal away and shoved it closer to Thrust's face. This would be the panel cover to Breakdown's medical ports and circuits. Any other brilliant questions? No? Good. He turned and stomped away, calling back. Strip, you and Ryder keep searching. I'll find you after I report to Megatron. You didn't quite answer his question there, Motormaster. Never mind. Hope the boss beats the slagger, Dirge muttered. Dragstrip and Wildrider both bristled, but Thrust was already towing the Trine Mate away. 2 down, 3 to go, Thrust murmured as they entered a new corridor. What? 2 Stennicons gone, Thrust replied. Wonder if the bot will take the other 3. I hate the slagger, but I don't see that tiny little spy managing to disappear with Motormaster. Dirge paced along silently for a moment before casting Thrust a malicious grin. Wonder what he'd accept in trade, though, for doing it. Thrust snickered. Don't know, but I'll chip in. He sobered almost instantly as though he thought of Bludgeon. He might not be after the stunties, though. I mean, Slag. Why take Bludgeon? He's all code of honor and half Autobot anyways. Everyone knows he didn't approve of the whole torture info out of the enemy thing. Really? Dirge rolled his optics. Yeah, him and his clean kill ideas. He waved it off. Doesn't matter. We stay side by side. He can't get the drop on either of us. Right. Thrust stepped closer to Dirge before daring to take his optics off his Trine Mate. Good idea. Megatron stood over Bludgeon's still form, his tone carefully modulating, trying to rein his temper. Where was he found? Right here, Hook said as he worked. He's unharmed, other than being so depleted in energon that he's stuck in stasis lock. And how did he just appear in your lab when I know damn well you have this place rigged with surveillance and alarmed when none of you are in here? Scrapper stepped forward and handed Hook another large syringe full of energon. That's just the thing. We were here when he appeared. All but Scavenger were present, and he was in storage room looking for a part for me. I turned around and there was Bludgeon. This is starting to sound like Bioshock. Megatron clenched his jaw to keep from roaring frustration. And you didn't mention that before because I'm a little busy trying to keep Bludgeon from offlining. Turning to Scrapper, Megatron fixed the engineer with a fierce glare. Is there anything else I should know? Perhaps Den and Breakdown or Motormaster have turned up, and you've been too busy to mention that. Whoa, Motormaster disappeared? When did this happen? Scrapper had the sense to take a step back, despite having the medical table between him and Megatron. No, only Bludgeon has been returned thus far. Runabout's Megatron! Megatron, help! He took Runabout! I just turned around for a nanoclick, I swear! Megatron closed the link and opened a channel to Soundwave. Find Runabout. Runabout's gone missing. He glowered around the Constructicons. I want to know immediately and without delay all details when something like this happens. Megatron had turned, was almost to the door when he stopped and swung back around. When you discovered Bludgeon, did you lock the lab down? The doors were open, Scrapper answered. Mixmaster was working on something, and the fumes were too intense, even with the venting systems on high. Snarling about utter incompetence, Megatron stomped out of the lab. His pounding footsteps could be heard far before he was in view, and all but the frantic Runabout cowered back. Trembling fingers held on a mangled bit of pearlescent white armor, and Megatron grabbed it, throwing it back at Runabout. If you're just going to throw it back at him, why'd you take it from him? Pull yourself together, you pathetic excuse for a Decepticon! My brother would not have been taken if any of you fools could manage the simple task of fighting that Autobot. Runabout clutched his brother's armor to his chest and stepped back, nodding, but no less collected than before. Megatron growled and turned to Soundwave. Have you found anything? Negative, Lord Megatron. There are surveillance cameras everywhere. Do I or do I not have special operatives of my own here? Why has one beaten, damaged, half-starved Autobot managed to elude you for half of a fragging decacycle? Megatron's fist clenched, and even Soundwave took a step back as the fusion cannon powered up in reaction to Timon's rage. Check all of the footage again and look for signs of tampering. Carefully screen the files from an Constructicon's lab. Bludgeon was returned right under their very noses. Megatron turned and stormed away, just as loud and furious as he had arrived. This is every fucking day nowadays. Runabout whimpered and leaned against the wall. A quiet order from Soundwave had Slugslinger and Trigger happy, pulling the battle charger along with them to continue the searching. One last scan of the corridor revealed nothing, and the telepath left to work on the assignment he'd been given. 2 days later, found Runamuck lying in front of the Constructicon's lab door, drained of his energon and in stasis lock. Mere moments after Hook reported the return of Megatron, a surprisingly fearful-sounding Dragstrip reported that he'd woke from recharge to find Wildrider missing. He was unable to raise any of his Gestalt mates in their comm channel and could confirm nothing, but that he thought they were still functioning. Megatron dispatched Thundercracker and Skywarp to see the last Stunticon, and only clicks later, the Seekers reported the Stunticon quarters were empty. Skywarp had teleported them there. A mecha day went missing after that. Always returned drained and in stasis lockups at the Constructicon's lab. Megatron was furious, and his temper all but gone. The taken and returned mechs told of a black and silent space, and the feeling of their energon being sucked out right out of their lines. Holy shit, Mirage is a vampire. Wow. Then nothing for 2 whole days. The Decepticons roved the corridors in small packs of 4 and 5 mechs, always looking over their shoulders and jumping at the least little sounds or touches. They were even recharging in shifts and sharing quarters. They weren't before. I'm surprised. There was no sign of the Stunticons. I'm sorry. And no amount of searching had been able to locate where the Autobot had taken them. It looked as though the 3rd day in a row would pass equally as uneventful in the previous 2 when Megatron's come to life. Megatron! Hook's voice was tight, uncharacteristically strained. Sir, you need to see this right away. Megatron was up and moving before Constructicon's sentence was completed. Details! All but Motor Master have been returned. Hook paused, the channel silent for nearly a click. Megatron ground in patience, and Hook continued, his voice low and genuinely disturbed. He force-bonded Wild Rider and Dead End, and Dragstrip with Breakdown. Megatron froze mid-step. What? He had to have misheard. Our alarms went off, and when we got here from the rec room, Dead and Wild Rider were tied, spark to spark, no barriers between. The same for Breakdown and Dragstrip. You're certain? Megatron asked, moving again, but voice low and displaying his own shock. Affirmative, sir. They're all drained in stasis like the others were, but I think that might be due to how long they've been bonding. Sparks don't stop when a mech loses consciousness, and that's why there are so many layers of containment. The lab door hissed open and Megatron stopped just across the threshold. Bring them online! I want to know where Mirage is hiding. Did you check this room Mixmaster was shaking his head and interrupted. The logs and cameras showed the door opening, remaining open, the Stunticons reappearing, then the door closing. He entered the lab knowing he'd have a few clicks to rig whatever visual block he used to keep us from seeing the others, drop them on the floor in the medical area, and leave. And I can't just bring them online. Just separating the pairs was delicate work. Wild Rider and Dead End Sparks nearly got it out twice. But not Breakdown and Dragstrip? Asked Megatron. Well, no, Scrapper answered. We moved them apart much more slowly, having discovered just how tangled their sparks would be. Ah. So nasty. I want them online as quickly as you can. Megatron switched to his comm. Soundwave! Stop looking for Motor Master. The others will return. And he was back out the door, leaving the Constructicon staring after him. Scavenger, Hook said in the growling silence. I need you to go over to our quarters. What? Why? Why me? I don't want to go. He'll get me. Because that's where I locked all the spare medical ration and energon. Why'd you put it there, dumbass? Hook sighed and motioned Mixmaster. Go with him. I don't know that we'd be targeted. You worked on him! Scavenger rasped. Oh, Primus! I repaired him as much as Vortex allowed me and gave him energon. I don't believe, and definitely hope, he won't be seeking revenge for that. But even after I radioed Starscream, I was ordered to only do enough to keep him functioning. He was partly conscious while I argued. You know I don't like leaving a patient or anything less than perfect. Rather tenuous hope, given you haven't reported and even complained about the missing doses of sedatives, Scrapper said. Hook snorted. I'm no idiot. If I'm already a target, there's a damn little to be done about it. If I'm not, I'd like to keep it that way. Now you two go get that energon. I've got 4 patients that need it. Bring as much as you can carry. Hook watched as Mixmaster keyed open the door and waited for a nervous Scavenger to catch up. Mixmaster, he waited until the chemist was looking at him. Carry it in your hands in subspace, not your tanks. Hook grinned as Mixmaster's visor dimmed and he groaned. Take all my fun, Mixmaster grumbled and grabbed Scavenger by the shoulder, hauling them out of the lab. Scavenger stayed right next to Mixmaster, and though the larger Constructicon's sign looked generally put on, he didn't push his, just thought made away. I don't like it, Scavenger said as they filled their subspace with the requested energon. Maybe we should go? Tower's locked and Megatron's the only one with the access codes. We ain't going anywhere. We have our underwater gear, the hydrojets too. We could sneak out one of the lower hatches and run for the surface. Scavenger huddled close. Nearly shaking now as his objects started all over the quarters. He could be right next to us and we'd never know. Primus, get a grip! Mixmaster grabbed Scavenger by the arm and hauled him out of the room and back towards the lab. And say we did do that? What about when Megatron finds out? You think we'll be able to just run off and then come back and he'll be all happy about it? He snorted, keying open the lab door. Not slagging likely. Scavenger was pushed into the lab and walked quickly towards the table Hook waved him at. The 4 Stunticons reached on the table, the newly bonded pairs close together. He stared in blatant horror. You can't even move them too far apart, can you? It was Scrapper that answered while Mixmaster and Scavenger emptied their subspace pockets. No, they're going to have some serious problems till they adjust to the bonds. Hook turned and looked at the table. Is that all you brought? He frowned as Mirage and Scavenger turned back to the table and stared. It'll be enough to get them online, but I would rather fill the reserves. Wait. Mixmaster stared at the cubes and then glanced at Scavenger. Yeah, Scavenger's voice shook. That's not as much as we grabbed. Just then the door opened. No one visible entered or exited.